It finally happened, ladies and gentlemen. An exclusive look for Resident Evil 9 Requiem has just previously taken place right now at Gamescom opening night, live 2025. Resident Evil 9 Requiem did end off Gamescom 2025, showing the world an exclusive look for the first time ever, a small snippet of gameplay and cutscenes, all taking place in the Remwood Hotel.
Welcome to Nest. Enjoy your visit.
So let's get into this analysis video, but before we do, if you are new here, just consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us on out into that YouTube algorithm. So the trailer opens up in a seemingly origin story or past scenario featuring the Ashcroft family. It can be seen that Alyssa and Grace are inside a hotel room during a rainy night. We see a perspective of a teenage Grace, and she is on her laptop, sitting cross-legged on the bed. And you know, I do like the emphasis so far on laptops in 2025 when it comes to Resident Evil, because we do know that laptops and or computer systems will have a heavy placement when it comes to both Resident Evil 9 Requiem, obviously with Grace Ashcroft being an FBI technical analyst, as well as unnamed protagonist and or Anthony in Resident Evil Survival Unit, who also has a laptop. But either way, Alyssa does walk into the hotel room and greets Grace. Young Grace holds out her hand in hopes for Alyssa to grab her hand in some sort of affectionate way. As a mother would, she does take a hold of her daughter's hand. She does tell Grace that she is being overworked right now and tells her to get some sleep. But Grace does end up removing her arm away from her mother, acting like a legit teenager, not liking to be touched or see any affection from their parent. So I feel like that's really accurate for this time being. And you know, I'm also curious to see more of teenage Grace and see how she's developed into an adult and see how her personality has shifted when it comes to her mother's passing. While Alyssa acknowledges how hard the rain is coming down and pouring into the streets of the city, the phone next to the bed happens to ring. Grace tells Alyssa that the phone is ringing even though the phone is situated right next to her, whereas Alyssa tells her the phone is right next to her, so she should pick it up. Honestly, I really like the dichotomy here between Alyssa and Grace. Obviously, this is in the past, but I don't know, man, this just feels so relatable, both to a teenager as well as an adult conversing with the other. After letting out a sigh, Grace ends up reaching for the phone and picks it on up. On the other end of the phone, it is unclear who it is, but we can make an educated guess. And if you're in the same thought process as me, one could guess that who's calling is the main antagonist of the overall game. Why? Because he's literally saying, Miss Ashcroft, the exact same way the man in the shadows did say Miss Ashcroft while sitting on the chair overlooking the fireplace. The exact same tone and the exact same voice.
Miss Ashcroft.
Hello?
Miss Ashcroft?
Yes.
But either way, the man does end up hanging up, which does end up relieving teenage Grace from her duties and ends up putting her back on her laptop. Alyssa asks who was on the phone, and Grace says she doesn't know, but they did ask for Miss Ashcroft. And in this context, it is still unclear who he meant by Miss Ashcroft, because obviously Alyssa can be construed as Miss Ashcroft, but then again we also have Grace, whether a teenager or an adult, who could also be construed as Miss Ashcroft. Alyssa does comment how that is rude that the person did hang up on her, and oh so conveniently, we have the lights and power shutting off in the hotel. This does end up startling Grace, and if you look closely to Alyssa, you can tell that she is not concerned whatsoever, as if she knew this was going to happen the entire time. While looking at the window, Alyssa does say, "They're coming," which is a voice line that we did hear in the first trailer. Reaching under the bed in the dark, Alyssa does rummage through possibly a bag or something along the lines and grab some gear like a flashlight. With that flashlight, she hands it to Grace, and she asks who's coming, and what's wrong. Alyssa continues, shush, we need to keep our voices down, which is another voice line that we did end up hearing in the very first trailer, ergo pulling Grace out of the hotel room with Grace still confused over who's coming and what the heck is going on here. We can tell that Grace is very concerned over her laptop, and that can be judged when she turns her head around looking back at the bed, while Alyssa is pulling her away. The two, with their flashlights in tail, they end up running down this really dark hallway of the Remwood Hotel. When I reacted to this just a bit ago, a question did come across my mind. As you can tell, we do have a first-person cutscene right here, and again, as we know, we are able to play in both first and third person and can change seamlessly. So I am wondering, and I am actually hoping, that there is going to be two variants of the same cutscene. One in first person, similar to Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, as well as Resident Evil 8 Village, and on the other spectrum, a fully animated third-person cutscene similar to the ranks of Resident Evil 4 Remake. Honestly, in my opinion, if they do force us to watch a lot of the cutscenes in first person, whether we are set to first or third person, I'm actually going to be a little disappointed. When Alyssa and Grace reach this very door right here, Alyssa reaches into her purse and grabs a small pistol, cocking it back before opening the door. She opens the door eventually, and this is our first segment of brand new gameplay. This obviously is first person gameplay, and the objective right now is to simply follow Mom. Alyssa right here can be heard saying, "Stay close," which obviously is a voice line that we heard from the first trailer. Alyssa is in a hurry to escape the Remwood Hotel, with Grace continuously confused. Honestly, I really do like the design of the Remwood Hotel here. It looks really awesome and very rustic and wooden, which I do like the aesthetic that the hotel gives off. World's shortest gameplay segment over, and in fact this is the only gameplay segment that was featured in this entire almost 5-minute clip. When we reach over here, which I can only assume is probably the receptionist desk right here, it appears that we actually have a typewriter. So it appears that this is signaling that we will be able to come back here sometime in the future and be able to save behind the receptionist desk. The two do end up getting shocked by this man holding an industrial flashlight. This man is very likely the owner or manager of the Remwood Hotel, and he is basically trying to check up on some of the guests, and also apologize to whoever he can over this blackout. Obviously, this is a first-person cutscene from the perspective of Grace. This detail is pretty cool. She is actually holding her flashlight in the cutscene, something we've never really seen before when it came to Resident Evil 7 Biohazard as well as Resident Evil 8 Village, mostly because Ethan didn't have a legit flashlight. Apologizing for the inconvenience, the hotel owner slash manager does end up getting a bag swung over his head, in turn suffocating him. The hooded man that we saw in the very first trailer is obviously the perpetrator behind this. Everyone is panicking right now. Alyssa and Grace are panicking over seeing the hotel owner or manager getting suffocated, while the hooded man ends up taking a knife or even scissors and slits the throat of the hotel owner slash manager. After that, we're not getting a lot of context. It actually cuts right to a different area of this segment right here, to the point where Alyssa and Grace are escaping the hooded man. I can only assume between then and right here there was chase gameplay, but I don't think Capcom wanted to show that off just yet. Grace is hyperventilating, panicking over seeing a man in Lego City getting killed right before her very eyes. Alyssa, on the other hand, doesn't seem shocked at all. She is using her maternal instincts to do her best to calm down Grace, saying things like, "Look at me," "grab my hands," and helping to exercise her breathing. Things start getting scary and ominous when it comes to Alyssa here, because here she does say, "Oh Grace, I promise you, I will explain this all to you one of these days." And that really gets me thinking, because as we know, Alyssa will end up dying very shortly here. So this really put in my mind, Alyssa left a clue for future Grace to figure out. And whenever Grace does end up figuring out what that clue was and solves the mystery, she will probably find some documents in a briefcase or maybe some computer file that will explain the entire thing that Alyssa is currently right here in the past keeping from Grace. I think that'd be really cool actually. With Alyssa hugging her daughter right here, she does say, "Please know that you are my hope." Another voice line that was heard in the first trailer. And by now, we should know that that voice line does mean that Grace is going to carry on the Ashcroft legacy. She is her only hope. Alyssa promises Grace that they're gonna find a way out of here. And as I mentioned earlier, check this out. Grace can actually be heard saying, "We don't have any of our stuff."
We need to find a way out of here now.
But we don't have any of our stuff.
Which does imply that something in their hotel room was important. My lead guess is obviously her laptop. Starting to walk away towards the exit, as you can see right here, Alyssa moves Grace right in front of her and almost immediately got stabbed in the back. When I reacted to this just a bit ago, I did think that Alyssa knew that she was going to die here today. And now that I look at it again, I feel like there is a certain reason why she did throw Grace right in front of her in this scene right here. But obviously the reason behind that, we don't know, as well as Grace, who also doesn't know. Seeing her mother getting stabbed right before her eyes, Grace gets absolutely shocked and lets out a terrifying scream. And that is how the exclusive look ends off. Honestly, the acting in this area looks absolutely phenomenal. Whether it is motion capture or voiceover, everything melded together with a very spooky undertone, where the actors literally felt scared and in the position and shoes of the characters. Whoever the voice of young Grace is literally felt like she was going to die there.
We can come back for it later, Grace.
And a huge highlight to the motion capture of the hotel owner slash manager. All of that squirming felt so scary. I felt like I was watching a horror movie. So yeah guys, that's a bit of a breakdown for the exclusive look from Gamescom regarding Resident Evil 9 Requiem. Let me know what you thought in the comment section below. This looks absolutely spectacular to me. Even though we got like 5 seconds of gameplay right here and the rest was cutscenes, I'm really looking forward to what this game can entail when it comes to the engagement of the player. Until I can be proven otherwise, I personally will always have a very cautious undertone when it comes to the seamless swapping between first and third person. Seeing the way that Resident Evil 8 Village had something along those lines, the third person mode of that game came out absolutely atrocious. So that does leave a really bad taste in my mouth when it comes to situations like this. So I am hoping that they can maintain some sort of Resident Evil 4 remake cutscene as well as gameplay animation in Resident Evil 9 Requiem, and well as have more specifically Resident Evil 7 Biohazard first person gameplay as well as cutscenes. And again, I really do hope that the third person and first person will affect cutscenes, because if I'm playing in third person, I really don't want to be switching to first person just to experience a cutscene, just like how Resident Evil 8 Village is. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope you did enjoy, and if you did, just consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, tell me what you thought. What are your thoughts of this world premiere trailer, and how hyped are you for Resident Evil 9 Requiem? And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.